Hi, my name is Nimio Natana, Nimion Attana, with ID tag number CO-40857-2391-US. My time is 1352 January 18, 2098. As you see, we no longer use the old AM/PM style timing that you use in your time, which I will explain in another transmission. Yes, I know you will try to dismiss me as a fake or false, but hear me out first. We have uploaded other videos from our time to yours on different platforms telling you we really come from the future, and no, time travel is not what you think. We don't use a portal that we walk in, or a DeLorean, which is quite funny to us in this year. We use what is so-called Exo 10, which is a microchip implanted in my brain that allows me to travel timelines backward or forward in time, meaning past or future. Physically, I'm in Colorado, but metaphysically, I can go anywhere I want, at any timeline I want. Because before I go in details, let me give you a backstory how this came to be our reality. Back in 2028, in my grandpa's time, technology developed so much that most people revolted against it, since that was the first time biomicrochips were introduced as an experiment. We started as a simple thing as ordering your food at a restaurant with your mind or with your brain. At the time, it caused mass hysteria among people, which divided into two categories: the ones who thought it was great and the ones who believed it was more demonic and outer worldly. But the reality was much simple. The microchip implanted into the brain was no more than a nanocomputer with capabilities to connect to other devices via proximity sensors powered by the brain itself. Most of the corporations by 2028 went viral. Machines were all connected and controlled remotely, which made it possible for virtual jobs to become a reality, which you will see in your near future. Some people suffered in the beginning since they had no knowledge or training about the digital era that was coming, and remained the so-called poor class until next generation, meaning that their children were the only ones truly seeing the results of that changing world. And by year 2045, 90% of the world functioned virtually. Streets were almost abandoned, mostly because everyone was busy in their virtual jobs at home, and not to forget that fuel-operated cars were banned already and deemed illegal, and only a few licensed battery and hydrogen-operated cars would be seen running at all times, which now even those seem as primitive as it comes. But I'll tell you in another transmission how and why I say that, and what we have today in 2098. I'll let you know. Now let's pick up where we left off. As I mentioned, I am physically in Colorado, but metaphysically anywhere and any timeline. This doesn't work physically and will never work in your lifetime, since all the Exo 10 does is that allow us to go back in the past and inject pieces of information, as you are hearing right now, that you can see, hear, or read. We cannot alter the reality. We go not because it's illegal, but there is, or any restrictions, but simply because you, in my past, would never understand the technology involved. And honestly, I don't understand it deeply either. We tried to warn people in the past regarding tragedies or the mass Yellowstone volcano ahead of August 2031, but we were ignored and thrown away as false. We have been called spirits, demons, angels, and so many other names so many times, but we're really none of that. We're simply people just like you, which some of you are even my ancestors, but since your time is in the past and haven't seen what we have, you will not understand until the right time comes. This is why nobody has managed to change the course of history yet, at least in modern times. Because most of the technologies that you have today started only 50 years ago in your time, and everybody was, and it's still surprised how it went from almost zero to high technology you have now. Guess what? It was exactly the year we made it possible to travel timelines in our time, which means your 1972 was 2048 for us. This is exactly when we started communicating with people living in 1972, giving them technological ideas from 2048. It is very interesting that 50 years later, in your time, people are deeming us as fake when only 50 years ago you learned from us regarding technology. We know there are people in your timeline that will do anything to prevent this information from coming out at any cost. So they can be the only monopolies, and unfortunately, there's nothing we can do except these transmissions, which only awake the ones who believe in them. There's nothing else we can do. Anyway, it's time for me to go back to work since I work in Australia for an archaeological company that discovers old artifacts, mostly from your timeline, which is the reason I decided to transmit as such information. And I'll do it as much as I can on some of the findings that we have. You actually might laugh, but to us are real history, as it is the Apple computer we found a month ago in an abandoned building, which that technology for us is unimaginable, and I know for you it's still current, probably, most of you. And anyway, before I forget, don't waste time looking me up since my name and last name don't exist in your timeline yet. I'll explain it later in other videos. Just keep checking, I guess, my page, or whatever you call it now, and I will keep you posted on my next one. Good time for now. And the time right now is 14:09, January 18, 2098. As I said, my name is Nimion Atana, ID tag CO-40857-2391-US.